Okay, so how do we organize these documents? Well, once again, going back to the beginning, we say, how did the French view the Vichy regime, including Marshal Pétain? And so, naturally you think, oh, some are good, some are bad. We have to go beyond that. So we can have many supported the regime, and many didn't, but let's try to go beyond that just a little. What did supporters like about it? What did opponents dislike about it? Opponents viewed it as what? Supporters viewed it as what? Perhaps that's how we can have our thesis and our groupings. So maybe in terms of supporters, maybe we could say supporters viewed the government as a way to rebuild France. And for that, we can look at, Pétain document 2, Pétain pointing out that this was a chance for rebuilding. And of course, document 6 shows that a reconstruction as well. So we could use those two. You can also say, oh, well, another argument that supporters had was that this is a force against communism. And so you see that, of course, document 6 implies it there because there's the communism in the old system, but that's especially seen in document 8 and document 9, and both of them directly address that threat of communism. So once again, why would they support it? Oh, because it's a way to resist communism. Okay, so how about opponents? Maybe we could say opponents view the government as a puppet of Hitler, or as under the control of Germany, or as collaborating with the enemy, with the Germans. And there's, obviously several documents that you can use for that. Document 3 is good for that. Document 4 definitely shows that. And then later, document 7 says that as well. And we could also say another opponent's thing that they'd say is perhaps that the government was, something like I said, it was a sellout. It gave up. It made France weak and humiliated France. And there's several documents that we can use for that as well. Note, these are just brainstorms that I came up with. Now, we don't have to necessarily group it that way. One of our groups could be, well, what did Pétain himself say? So our thesis could be the French people were divided. Some were in favor, some were against. Pétain himself supported the government until the end, when he said that he was forced into doing it. So we could have a paragraph about Pétain. One thing I want to say, if you have a paragraph about him, a grouping with him, there's many documents from him, documents 1 and 2, and of course 10 are all from him, 11 is about him, as are some of the other ones. So you can have a document group about Pétain, or specifically documents from him, but note the change over time. And that's initially he's very supportive and he views this as a way to benefit France. But at the end, he's saying that, no, in fact, he wasn't trying to actually create this government. He was just trying to protect France until France could be rescued by the Allies. So initially, you want to note that change over time. Initially he's very supportive of creating a strong government, but later he when he's on trial, says that no, in fact, he was just trying to protect the French until the Germans were defeated. So you can certainly have that as a grouping. You can have a grouping for, obviously, government propaganda, and so put together some of those different documents that show government propaganda and say, oh, government propaganda sought to gain public support. But in your pro-government, many people supported the regime. Obviously, you'd want to use not just Pétain, potentially, or document 8, which shows support for the regime, but also document 5. Even though he, the leader there, the writer in document 5, is part of the French resistance, the document suggests that there is a lot of public support. Even though he doesn't support it, he doesn't know what he thinks when he's writing this, or or he's saying he doesn't know what he thinks at that time. But there is a lot of popular support for it, and so we can use that in that way. So we can use government propaganda as a potential. And of course, we can group the French resistance or the Free French movement and sort of put that together as a grouping. And we can group documents that commented on Petain's character. So we could have said French people had differing perceptions about the leadership of this new government, ranging from that it was protecting France to that it was deceiving the French people. And so you could look at the character documents, especially document 5 there. Document 8 talks about his character. Document 11 talks about his character. And so that's definitely, you could do that. And then, of course, you could do radio broadcasts in general. Radio broadcasts, or you could divide that into groups. So radio broadcasts in favor of the government, radio broadcasts against. But there's a lot of radio broadcasts that are against the government. But 1 and 2 are both radio addresses in favor of it from Pétain. And you could do print or visual media and have a grouping of those documents, the pictures. So that would be document 4, 6, and 9. And say, well, these visual, what do they have in common? These visual media are all trying to get people, they're all trying to make a political point in favor of the government, for the government ones, or opposed to the regime in this secret one that's unpublished. So you wouldn't just want to say, your topic sentence wouldn't just be, the print media was, the print media had opinions about the Vichy regime. You want to sort of clarify exactly what it is. The government print media supported the regime and attempted to convince others to support it, whereas some French voiced their opposition secretly or in unpublished pictures.